From Afghanistan's chaotic capital to its bitterly cold countryside, signs that this country the U.S. and its allies spent 20 years trying to rebuild is quickly falling apart.
They rule the land with their rifles and restrictions, but that isn't enough to run a country. It takes money, experience and support, and the Taliban have almost none of these. Afghanistan's in freefall. Thousands of girls denied an education, women banned from going to work, and its people are starving to death.
The Biden administration recently announced that it would be unfreezing $7 billion of Afghanistan's foreign cash reserves being held in American central banks, allocating half for Afghan humanitarian aid and the other half to American victims of 9/11. Problem is, it's not our money to distribute as we wish. Hi, I'm Yasmin Khan with Rebel HQ. So after the U.S. pulled out of the 20-year war in Afghanistan, the Taliban promptly took over. This is obviously devastating for the Afghan people for reasons I don't really need to enumerate here, but it threw the country's already weak economy into flux. To keep Afghan assets out of Taliban hands, roughly $9 to $10 billion of Afghan money was distributed for safekeeping in central banks around the world. The practice of governments holding foreign cash reserves is actually pretty common, so that's not really an issue. When Biden decided to unfreeze the money and give it to 9/11 victims, that's when things became problematic. Afghanistan is in the middle of a worsening humanitarian crisis right now. After being at war for 20 years, there was at least some hope of some kind of economic stability eventually. I don't think anyone expected Afghanistan to find its footing right away, especially not with the Taliban at the nation's helm, but there was hope that things wouldn't be destitute forever. Instead, we see people in Afghanistan fighting over bread in the streets and selling their organs and children for money to buy food with. Over 50% of Afghans are currently facing acute hunger, and the UN estimates that 97% of them will fall into poverty in 2022. The nation has been cut off from banking services and foreign aid because of Taliban leadership. Foreign aid isn't getting to the people who desperately need it, and foreign governments understandably don't want to give the money to the Taliban. Still, Afghan-American economist Abid Amiri said in an interview with NPR that there are ways of getting around the Taliban to help the people. He says that a distinction should also be made between humanitarian aid money and the nation's own frozen assets. But the more egregious part of the plan concerns the U.S. giving $3.5 billion Afghan dollars to pay 9/11 victims when none of the hijackers who attacked us were from Afghanistan. Conversely, 15 of the hijackers were from Saudi Arabia, and we haven't asked them to pay any kind of reparations for the attacks. If this move is implemented, it would bankrupt the Afghan banks. Afghanistan's currency is currently being propped up against these reserves, so without them, the value of the Afghan currency is expected to drop precipitously. This would mean that Afghanistan would be entirely reliant on foreign aid and unlikely to recover economically anytime soon. And the Afghan people are very upset about this. They've been protesting the Biden administration since the announcement was made, claiming that the U.S. is stealing their money for its own purposes. So is there a solution? Right now, there are two separate issues: addressing the humanitarian crisis and deciding what to do with the money. Some believe the international community should work together to find ways of getting aid past the Taliban and to the people, however that gets done. As for the money, it should probably just stay frozen for now. The US has a few reasons as to why it can't give the money to the Taliban, but if giving it back to the country it belongs to is no longer an option, the only other option should really be to just keep hanging on to it like we said we would. Additionally, and to their credit, many families of 9/11 victims do not want the money that's being offered to them, and they're beginning to make their voices heard in that respect.